What's up, nerds? Welcome to the DNA Real Talk, the all-movie podcast. Nailed it, yes. This is part of the Digital Nerd Advocates Network. We're allowed to say that now. Where we talk all movies all the time. You can find this audio version on YouTube, but it should be on maybe iTunes as well?
iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play.
And be sure to go and check out the digitalnerdadvocates.com. Site's been redesigned recently, and it's got a lot of articles on there that I think people will be interested in. Also, there's going to be reviews going up every now and then, so keep an eye open for that. Now, with all that being said, since this is a movie podcast, why don't we talk about movies and what we've been watching lately? But, of course, we would do that, but this time we're going to be talking a lot about Captain America Civil War. I know it's late. The movie came out a while ago, but
we haven't done one of these in a while.
And it also took a while for both of us to see it, because I saw it like midnight premiere kind of thing, and then Corey saw it like a few weeks later, and then gathering thoughts and scheduling and all that type of shit led us to now, and I feel like we should talk about it. Also, because it's been out long enough to where I feel like everyone has definitely seen it by now, to where we can talk about it, even though.
So minor spoilers. Most likely there will be spoilers.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
but also in this episode, we're going to talk about something else, Disney, which is that I know once again this trailer came out a little while ago, but we thought we'd talk about it too, because in a past episode of DNA Real Talk, we were talking about Disney trailers that had come out that week, and Pete's Dragon was one of them, and there was a new trailer for Pete's Dragon that dropped like 2 weeks ago. Of course, when you're watching this video, when you're listening to this audio version right now, when it comes up, it probably would have been like maybe 3 weeks ago this trailer would have come out. But we actually get to see Elliot the Dragon, and you get a little bit more about the story and stuff like that, and we thought it was interesting, so we thought we'd talk about that too. But first,
looks cool. Looks good.
We are going to talk about Captain America Civil War, because there is a lot to talk about.
There is. It's
something that I noticed immediately was that, because on Fandango they put, not sponsored by Fandango, but Fandango they always put like, how long the movie is, like the runtime of it. Captain America Civil War is the longest Marvel movie that's ever been released so far.
I can see that.
Which it doesn't feel that way, because
no, well, it was really good.
You're so into it that it flies by.
Yeah, that movie was real good. It was real good.
Captain America still proves to be the best
series of the Marvel movies. Yeah, for sure. I was a little hesitant going in, because there's so many moving parts now in Marvel that I didn't want this to be another Avengers movie, which on one hand it very much was, but on the other hand it very much wasn't. It really was a sequel to The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
They did a lot of things with Winter Soldier that were really cool. They did introduce some new characters, which were really cool. Black Panther, Spider-Man, really cool.
Yeah.
Did a lot of interesting things with the story I didn't really expect. Especially in that last act, which a lot of people say that last act was kind of fell flat for them, but
I didn't think so. I just the only thing, maybe the reason why people would have said that is because I guess some people or I would say a good deal of people have read the comic book, so a lot of things about the Civil War movie obviously just isn't the way that the comic was. And a big thing that stood out to me when watching the movie, when it came to that final act and that big reveal that led to the big fight scene that you saw in the trailer, or at least a little glimpse of in the trailer, between Iron Man, Winter Soldier, and Captain America, was the reason that it was triggered had me scratching my head, because I'm pretty positive that's not the way that Howard and I don't know his mom's name.
Martha.
Martha?
I'm just kidding.
Oh,
that was a Batman v Superman joke.
Real funny. I'm
Ha!
I'm pretty sure that's not how they died, but it was cool, I guess, putting that into the movie to have like motivation there at the end. But I don't know if I was fully into it. But I still, I mean, I really love the movie. There's really nothing I can say bad about it. I mean, I think the big reason why I definitely didn't feel Avengers like is the fact that the Russo brothers were behind it.
No,
And
I
it's
know.
like they know how to make it and they know how to have a good tone. Unlike
Did you
I
see the blue stair truck in the movie?
the what?
The blue stair truck from Arrested Development.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched the movie. Actually, I didn't. I don't
Uh,
know.
there was like a couple nods to stuff they did because like they produced Community,
Yeah.
so like one of
And
the
did
Community.
there's that one part where Tony Stark is talking to all the college students, and the fucking dean that comes up is the dean from Community, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Because I remember in
Mhm.
Winter Soldier, it was the same thing where you saw Danny Pudi,
Mhm.
Abed from Communities there as one of the Shield technicians. I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah, yeah. I thought like little stuff like that was really cool, but like this movie, but I want to touch on something that a lot of people kind of have mixed feelings on. Again, is like I thought Zemo is Marvel's best villain since Loki. I really do.
See,
Well, unless you're counting TV and like Kingpin and stuff,
yeah, Kingpin,
but
and I like the Purple Man. Despite what some people probably thought about him, I think he was a compelling villain. I thought he was
Yeah.
really cool. He had an interesting storyline, and he was very unpredictable.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. With Zemo, it's like
A lot of people had a lot of issues with like, how can one man find out all this information about all the Avengers and do all this within like a year after the Avengers, and like my whole thing is like he's a one of the top Black Ops agents from Sokovia.
wait, wouldn't he have found out that information because of Winter Soldier at the end of Winter Soldier?
Yeah, but I mean, like a lot of people are trying to tie this back to the Avengers, and like a lot of people had a hard time believing that he had the ability to find out all this information in a year and work his way into like all this stuff.
I guess I can get that.
But like, I don't know. I thought he was a cool villain. Like, he wasn't like like Loki where he could use magic to trick the Avengers. He like there was actually like a thought out plot to like get them to fight each other, and I thought that was a cool thing. And like, he won. Like
Technically,
you
yeah.
look at the end of this movie, he wins. Like even though he's captured, like the Avengers at the end are split up and still don't fully trust each other.
Even though the way I thought about the movie was, I really didn't think that there was any like real clear cut villain. I thought Baron Zemo was just kind of there, and he moved one small element of the movie, like the plot point forward. But other than that, it almost felt like this was the first Marvel movie that didn't have a definitive hero and a definitive villain. It kind of just felt like there was situations happening, and like Tony Stark was the villain sometimes, and then Thunderbolt Ross was the villain sometimes, and then Zemo was the villain in the background. And I thought that was an interesting way of doing it, because I after a while of all these Marvel movies, I get like really tired of that, where it's like pretty much that's what everyone asks when they hear about a movie being announced. Oh, this is the hero. Well, then who's the villain? Because it's like it's a given that everyone thinks that there has to be a fucking villain in a comic book movie, or it's not gonna work. So I thought it was kind of cool, and it definitely felt that way, where it's like Zemo was there, but it didn't feel like it was the big villain that we all had to take down at the end of the movie kind of bullshit. He was just there, kind of like pulling strings and shit like that.
Right, and playing off what you're saying is like you felt yourself, besides Zemo pulling the strings in the background, you actually felt like during the movie you were changing sides. Like you could feel Cap's point, but then
There's only like one moment that I can think of where I was actually would have been on Tony Stark's side, because of course it is Captain America's movie,
right.
but after a long time of getting kind of sick of Iron Man being everywhere, I'm already kind of just like not into Iron Man anymore at all. So I was almost never on his side, except for the one moment, which is that I feel like ever since Iron Man 1, Robert Downey Jr. hasn't been this good as Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Because Iron Man 2, it's like, he was like the Demon in the Bottle storyline that they weaved in there was like the only good part of that movie, I think, that showcases acting. But then Iron Man 3 is a fucking joke. I can't stand it. And Avengers is just like, everyone's all goofy and, hey, this is Saturday morning cartoon content. And then Avengers 2 is kind of the same thing. But this time around, it's like, the gravity of situations have come down on all these people. And for the first time since Iron Man 1, Robert Downey Jr. is like extremely good and like interesting as Iron Man again.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that a lot. Like, especially the scene, like we said, minor spoilers, so we're going to say a lot. But the scene where that woman from Sokovia comes to him after the college conference,
talking to him
about her, and then gets a picture and like puts it in his face and stuff. I was like, holy shit, that was kind of hardcore. And then later on, he's talking to all the Avengers, and he says that line, which I just didn't really think was going to come out of his mouth, where it's like, it really makes you think about like a superhero world in a different way, which is what Batman v Superman did. Except that, like with Batman v Superman, it was like way more dramatic. But with this one, it's like, he talks about how it's like he was aspiring to be a better person, and that is until we dropped a building on him. And saying things like that like really makes you like think about what if the superhero world was real and like things like this happened. And I think Civil War accomplished that really well. And but like I was getting at here was that I was always on Captain America's side pretty much the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt myself flip-flopping some of the movie, but like there's certain points where I don't know, I just kind of felt like I felt how Tony felt responsible.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And like,
even though it seems pretty clear that Avengers 2, it's like they weaved it to be that way, where it's like, because Ultron in the comics wasn't created that way, so they purposely make Tony Stark create Ultron so that they can use that later on in Civil War to have him feel more responsible for people's deaths and stuff like that, which is whatever. But it works. It really works well.
Right. Let's talk about the introduction of Black Panther.
Right.
Because after that, let's start with that first scene where like that causes all this to happen. That opening scene where Scarlet Witch ends up blowing up the building when he's fighting Crossbones.
Oh yeah, Crossbones. Which that kind of bummed me out.
I thought Crossbones was going to be in it like a little bit more than.
Yeah, I was even
5
saying.
minutes.
I was saying to my brother when we left is that I was kind of hoping that he would be like the Scarecrow of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it's like he would have shown up every now and then as a small side villain who never died or got killed.
Right.
And then, it sucks because then he blows himself up, and I was like, god damn it, because I really like Frank Grillo a lot, and I loved him in Winter Soldier, and he had a great opening part in Civil War, and then he fucking died, and I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, that whole scene was cool. Like, the whole scene was cool, and Falcon had his little, like,
he had an actual, like, I mean, not exactly the way it was in the comics, but, he technically
yeah,
has
but
little
I mean,
Falcon
are you going to
there.
telepathically tell Falcon to go chase someone down?
Yeah, I mean, I know you can only do so much with that, but it was really cool that they actually like had one more thing.
And they played around with him, like using a shield. He used his wings as a shield, type thing, which kind of like you could see how like in future movies, if they did end up like killing off Steve Rogers, how they could go either Bucky or Cap Falk as being the new Cap, because like Winter Soldier uses the shield some of this movie, and like, but they showed Falcon using his wings as a shield, so like, I don't know, you could see that going either way, but like, I just thought that whole scene was cool, and the way like, Scarlet Witch launched Captain America up through the window, and just the different,
like it was like real teamwork.
Yeah, it was really cool, and like that point when Scarlet Witch lifts Crossbones up when he's about to blow up, like, and blows up the building, you felt like you could see the fear in her eye, like she just did something really wrong, and that's kind of how this whole conflict starts, outside
obviously the way the movie really began was that whole like Winter Soldier like flashback scene thing.
Right. That kind of sets up for what happens.
But then later. It kind of like has you all confused, and then like as soon as that scene starts with all that, it like immediately throws you into the gravity of how this whole movie's gonna feel with that happening. Where it's like, especially because I didn't expect it to happen at all. You see Crossbones in the trailer, and you're kind of like, oh shit, he's going to be in this movie. That's cool. And then that happens, and I'm like, Jesus, that was actually kind of hardcore right there.
I know. It was.
It felt like terrorist bombing. That's what it felt like right there.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of that in this movie. Like you move to the scene where they're about to sign the Sokovia Accords, and the building blows up.
Yeah.
Kills
Black Panther's dad.
Yeah. T'Chaka. Right? T'Chaka's his dad, and he's T'Challa, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Comics. Nailed it.
I know them. You know them.
Nailed it! But anyways, like you really felt the weight shift to Black Panther. Like he's the king now, and he wants to get revenge on Winter Soldier, and that kind of takes us to the bridge scene or the tunnel scene where they're running through the tunnel, and that scene was cool.
Yeah, it was
and
really
the
cool.
Motorcycle when Winter Soldier reached out and grabbed the motorcycle and twirled it around and jumped on it. That was cool.
I think once again, which is funny because someone that me and you work with, Tim. Shout out to Tim.
Tim, big time Timmy Jim.
I actually don't know his last name. I don't know Tim's last name.
Sorry, Tim, we don't know your last name.
I'm sorry, dude.
It's Timmy Jim. His last name is Jim.
Oh, Timmy Jim? Cool. Yeah, how easy to remember.
Big time Timmy Jim.
But he was talking about that too, which is that, I don't know if I could fully agree with him on that, but the one character that Marvel has introduced who becomes increasingly more and more interesting with every movie he ends up being in was the Bucky Barnes character, which he's great as Bucky in Captain America First Avenger, but then when he shows up in Winter Soldier and you see how insane he's gotten, and then you come into Civil War, it's like he becomes more and more interesting as the movies press on.
You can really see him, like his internal conflict of being between the Winter Soldier and Bucky. Like you can see him struggle with that, and it's really cool. And
which in Winter Soldier it wasn't as like relevant because like he was still like really under mind control, but then in this it's like it's really like a real back and forth, and it was done really cool and really well. Like you could see someone like struggling with inner demons, kind of shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even you could even see him struggling with it when Cap is in his apartment, like.
Oh dear God, that scene was so fucking awesome.
Oh, I know. Like when they're fighting on the stairs.
I almost felt like they were. Marvel was like, well, shit. Everyone loved that stairwell scene from the Daredevil season 2. Let's do it in this movie too. So I thought it almost felt like the exact same kind of thing, which I thought was hilarious. But once again, it's like it proves that you don't need to have like laser beams and fucking hammers flying around to have a really cool action scene in a comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Captain America and Winter Soldier fight or are fighting like just regular, like I don't know, other superheroes, I guess in the same way, or like cops or some shit like it was right there. It's like, oh dear God, it's always so fucking cool and interesting and makes me geek out. Yeah. Which I remember I was telling you right after I saw the movie that I almost, like, as much as I love comic book movies, I almost never geek out at a comic book movie. Like, oh, there's a really cool comic book moment. Which there has been a few times. Like, X-Men First Class had one for me, and Batman v Superman had one for me, and Man of Steel had one, The Dark Knight Rises had one. But, like, I haven't geeked out as much from a comic book movie since this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll get to that later, but I just thought I'd mention it right now. But, back to that whole scene. It's just like, just Winter Soldier, he ends up being more, which kind of bummed me out though at the end of the movie that he like did the whole like they froze him and shit. And I was like, oh damn, I thought that would be cool if you could bring him back again, but it's like it almost feels like they're putting him on ice so that they can purposely like give him a rest for a couple movies and then bring him back later, kind of thing.
Yeah,
which is fine. I'm okay with it.
They might show him in Black Panther since that's where they're holding him.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, and he might not have a scene, but like they might show him in cryostasis or something.
Yeah.
Which brings up some interesting cameos for that movie too. Yeah. Like, is Cap going to be in that movie, or is someone going to show up in that movie? I don't know. But
which I'm back to Black Panther. I didn't say anything yet about him, which is that I really liked him, and I thought that it was really cool the way that they weaved in his storyline, which was almost spot on from the comic books. How they weaved it into Civil War, which was cool, and I liked it a lot. But of course, I really, like with Winter Soldier, I had no complaints about that movie whatsoever. I think it's a perfect comic book movie. And with Civil War, I was hoping it would be the same way, but there are a couple like tiny little gripes I have with it. But that's only because it almost feels like they put things in there because they know that they need to set a few things up, which I feel like is a little bit unnecessary because I feel like the movie would have been perfect on its own without having to force things in there. But I did feel like Black Panther felt the tiniest bit forced into that movie. Just because they had to put someone else in there to be like, hey, there's a Black Panther movie coming, so we kind of have to put him in here because it, like, yeah, he was under the impression that Winter Soldier killed his dad the whole time, so that kind of was like the driving force for him, and that's kind of all he had to do in the movie. But it was cool having him like action sequences and see what he's gonna be like in his own movie. And I feel like exploring a kind of civilization like what's gonna be in Wakanda will be like extremely interesting and new and original, that I'll love it a lot. So I'm totally into that, but it did just feel like the tiniest bit forced in this movie for me.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that too. Like, Black Panther, honestly, Black Panther and Spider-Man, neither of them really needed to be in this movie.
Yeah.
But they did, however, even out the teams, I guess, is what you could say. But, like, I did feel like Black Panther had a bigger role in this movie than Spider-Man did. Even though the Spider-Man stuff was cool, like the way they introduced him into the movie, into this universe, like I felt that scene with Tony Stark was way too long, and I felt like the coolest part about Spider-Man was the big fight scene.
Yeah,
and like the things he was doing, and like they were yelling at him for like chattering too much during the fight, and like how cool it was to be there, and like. But I feel like the way they introduced Spider-Man, that whole scene with Tony Stark was way too long. Whereas like Black Panther, they just kind of like it felt more natural. He
kind of just like showed up. He's like, yeah. There he is.
It was more natural. I felt like than the Peter Parker introduction.
See,
I feel like that Peter Parker introduction could have like totally just been like a after credits sequence, almost. Yeah. That's what it felt like. They took the after credits sequence and stuck it in the middle of this movie.
Even though, speaking of after credits sequences, I really don't know what the fuck that Spider-Man one was supposed to be. It's like the hologram up on the ceiling, and I'm like, what the...
Yeah, there's like a comic book series where he uses it kind of like the bat signal, sort of.
Yeah, I remember you saying that before. It's like, I haven't read much Spider-Man comics because he's really not one of my favorite characters at all. Like, I like his villains more than I like him.
Yeah,
so I really don't know what the hell that was.
I really only know that because I listened to Secret Friends Unite podcast. Shout out to that podcast. It's really cool. Got to have Todd on the show at some point when we talk comic book movies. But yeah, that's really the only reason why I knew that, because I didn't really understand any of that either.
So. Especially because there's like a ton of fucking like logos or something, or like icons around it, and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell this is. But I didn't know when you wanted to talk about that, but my view on the Spider-Man thing was that he felt extremely forced into this movie.
Oh yeah,
and I did love seeing him because like it did really feel like the character a lot more like the character than he has the previous two incarnations.
And he looks cool, like the suit looks cool,
and like he looks amazing, and it's like I think he's serious. No pun intended there. I just said that. And he
looks spectacular.
He looks amazing. Did I say amazing already?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
He looks ultimate. That one doesn't really work as well. But like the suit looks really, really great. Like I think it's like seriously it is like the first time that like in a live action adaptation of Spider-Man feels like it's spot on.
Yeah.
But just the way that he was in there, like I once again I still am really not a fan of the whole Iron Man almost like Arrow is the only thing I can compare it to, where it's like just because they started the universe off with this character, they feel the need to have him do everything because everyone knows him the best. So I thought it was kind of lame to where it's like, how in the fuck does Tony Stark know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man? He just kind of like shows up and he just knows
with like
all
some
of a sudden.
YouTube videos. Like,
yeah,
what
honestly,
does he do?
Like,
you watch YouTube videos and he finds this thing and he's like, oh, well, that's cool.
I bet everyone like kind of all the fans or something just trying to gloss over that fact, but it's like seriously, that made no fucking sense to me. He's just like, hey, I'm Tony Stark, I have this billion-dollar industry, so I automatically know superheroes' identities all of a sudden. It's just like, what in the fuck was that? And then I was saying that too when the movie was over, because it seriously felt that way. It almost felt like he might as well have just added that line to a couple of words to the end of that line, where Spider-Man takes out was it Captain America or somebody, and then he's like down on the ground, and then Tony Stark, Iron Man comes up to him and seriously pats him on the chest and says, "Okay, you're done." I feel like he might as well have just said, "Okay, you're done. You're done in this movie now. You can leave." It's just like, what the fuck? It's like, it felt so like, here's this character to be in one fight scene and then that's it because we have to have him later on. So, I don't know, it felt kind of lame to me. But, I mean, seeing Spider-Man was still cool, and like seeing all these characters together in one movie was so fucking amazing. But since we're on that airport sequence right now, I'm going to mention the part that I geeked out on. Like
the giant man.
Yep, the scene.
Ant-Man, like, for me, that, like, as far as like side characters go, he might have been my favorite part of this whole movie. Like the way they introduced him, where
shined better
where
in this
Hawkeye
movie.
Like drug him out of the van and like woke him up, and he's like, "Wow, you're Captain America." And then he's like
touching him.
Yeah, and somehow he like takes the shield from Spider-Man and he gives it back. He's like, "I believe this is yours, Captain." What do you say, like Mr. Captain America or whatever? It was really funny. And he was just like excited to be there, like
But I think he was better represented in this movie than he was in his own movie because the first one was kind of like a mess or whatever, and it went through a lot of trouble before it got done. But dear God, like I never jump out of my seat at a movie theater, and when the Giant Man scene happened, because I've been waiting for that forever because I've wanted to see Giant Man for such a long time because I love the Ant-Man, Giant Man, as the same character, of course.
I do this all the time.
And when he said that, especially because the build-up was so fucking cool, that's what made me was like, are they really going to do this right now? Are they really going to do this? And he's saying, like, we've only done it once, but I threw up, and like, holy fuck, they're actually going to do this. Are they going to do this? And then it fucking happens, and he turns into Giant Man, and I, like, jumped the fuck out of my seat, and I was going crazy, because I could not believe it happened, and they did it, and it was, like, a long sequence, too, where he's, like, throwing shit around.
Yeah, he was Giant Man for a long time, and, like, he ripped the airplane wing off and was like chucking it at people, and like the way like Spider-Man was crawling on his helmet looked really cool.
It's like, oh my God, I loved it so fucking much.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, the Giant Man thing was so cool.
And then it was really cool seeing more Vision because, of course, he was introduced in Age of Ultron, but he was barely there. But then it was cool seeing it, especially like the fact that he was wearing like a sweater and stuff like that. That's
business casual Vision. That's what people.
That's like a lot of the way that he looks in the comic book series, where it's like he doesn't wear his suit all the time. He like has normal clothes on every now and then.
Yeah.
And then they were once again like trying to build on the relationship between him and Scarlet Witch, which is something that's very prevalent in the comics.
I know that happens in the comics, but that kind of like their relationship kind of felt a little bit forced too. I feel like, at least in this movie, like
maybe a tiny bit.
Like, I don't know, like when the kitchen scene where he's trying to cook, he's like doing really bad at cooking, and like I feel like their relationship there was kind of like, I don't know, some things in this movie I felt were kind of forced, and that was one of them. Because I knew like they had a relationship in the comics. There's a whole comic line about them moving to the suburbs, like right now going on, I guess. And like,
oh no, she's dead by that point. Spoiler.
Oh, well.
Because I'm reading that comic book series now, actually.
Oh, right.
It's really good. But yeah, I mean they were married at one point and they had kids and shit like that somehow. But yeah, I know it was always in the comic books that they were like a couple and they were married and they were in love and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it does feel like the brewings in the beginning of a relationship, but it did feel like, like you could have had someone else watch over her at the house, but it just specifically had to be Vision. So it's like, I don't know, but whatever. I'm okay. I was definitely okay with it because I like Vision a lot, and I think Paul Bettany plays him very well.
Yeah.
And he has a couple cool moments, especially because he's yeah, he is that way in the comic, but seeing it in a live action version like makes you think about it differently. It's like, holy fuck, they make him really powerful in the movie. Like the time that Ant-Man Giant Man kicks a bus at him, and then like Vision flies down in front of Black Panther and like puts his arm up, and the whole bus like smashes fucking half, and it's like, whoa, they make him really powerful in this movie.
Yeah,
for donk.
Yeah, it's
And then Vision, I especially in the trailer, I didn't see that coming. I didn't know how it was gonna happen. But Vision is directly responsible for Rhodey.
Right. He got, it was the first time he'd ever been distracted.
Yeah.
And like,
which, dear God, that was like, that was a heart-pounding moment. I was like, because in the trailer they never give you the impression that, like, they kind of make you think that he is going to be dead. And I was like, holy fuck, is he actually going to be dead in this movie?
Yeah, and like that was like, Honestly, I love Rhodey as a character. Like I like.
I didn't like him in Age of Ultron, but I think he's well
No, but I like Don Cheadle in the role, and I like that character overall. And like in the trailer, like I thought he was going to be dead, and I was like, and after that, like at the end of the movie, like I was a little disappointed to find out that like he wasn't dead, even though I was relieved. Part of me was relieved, but the other part of me is like, oh well, they're not going to kill anybody. That's semi-important to this universe. So
I think it's good that they didn't kill anybody because, of course, it's almost like the thought process that everyone has when watching comic movies, that they think that somebody has to die, the villain has to die, or some other character has to die in this movie. It's like nobody died in this movie, actually.
Yeah, except for Crossbones.
Oh yeah, that's right, except for Crossbones. R.I.P. Shit, what else were we going on about? No, I got distracted by this whole other shit we were talking
about. Before we get into that third act, because that's kind of where we were heading. Did you feel like the funeral scene for Agent Carter was a little forced?
No, I thought it was. Well, I mean, at the same time, you could kind of say that it just felt like a random thing that they threw in there. But at the same time, it's like I feel like little random things in movies like that make it feel more real. Mm-hmm. Like it's like you can't really expect something to happen one day and then it just does. And it's like from Winter Soldier, it's like you already saw that she was a very old lady and she was like she had like dementia and stuff. So I feel like throwing in that was just like another like little piece in this puzzle to make the tragedy of the movie grow and grow until it got to the end where it's like there's so much tragedy going on to where it kind of like right off the bat is already telling you that this movie's going to have tragic moments in it, and that was just the beginning of it. And that's why I feel like that's the reason why I was in there. I didn't even think about that until right now, or maybe I did think about that when the movie came out, but I think having Peggy die was a good story and plot motivation in there for Captain America, because it's like now Bucky is the only person left from my past and I can't let him die or be taken from me. So yeah, actually that's probably exactly why they put that in the movie now that I think of it.
Right. Yeah, I guess that makes more sense now. Like at first, like the first time I saw it, I kind of felt like I knew something was going to happen with Peggy, but like I don't know, I guess I just didn't like put two and two together until you just explained it. Like, okay, yeah, you're right. Because Bucky and her were like the only things left from the war for him, and like, you know, now she's gone and Bucky's the only one left, so that does make sense. But now he's got a little thing on the side with Sharon Carter now.
That part was hilarious. Yeah, I thought that was actually really good, even though I'm not a big fan of like putting a ton of comedy in comic book movies. That part really worked for me. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that was really funny. That was really funny. Do you want to talk about that third act then? What do you think of the raft? That what it was called, the raft, the prison where they kept the hero.
Oh shit! Yeah, I think that was called the raft or whatever.
Yeah,
I always think it's interesting and cool seeing like how, even though it's like a Hollywood movie thing anyway, but that's also the way it was in the comics, so I can kind of forgive it. Which is that every time there's a new movie, they have to upgrade something and make it look cool. Like how with Iron Man, it's okay. It makes sense because you know he's gonna always want to upgrade his suit, stuff like that. But it's like sometimes it really doesn't make sense to where it's like Thor, he's a god. He was only made one hammer, so it should look this way forever.
Right.
But then you go from the first Thor into the Avengers, and it's like his hammer looks different. Then you go from
and his suits look different.
Yeah,
and
just like
looks different.
That kind of shit just like kind of bugs me. Just like how in Batman v
or like
Superman,
the Hulk, how the Hulk just looks different.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo look different, but their Hulks should probably look
similar at least. But it's like nope. But especially because like the Incredible Hulk, he's like vascular and a little more veiny. Then you go to that one, he's almost like a thicker Hulk and the Avengers and stuff. But just like in Batman v Superman, it's like at the end of Man of Steel, or not the end of Man of Steel, like halfway through Man of Steel, it's like that ship made him the Kryptonian suit from the House of El, and it's like then that ship was destroyed at the end of Man of Steel, so that should be the only Superman suit he has. but then yet in Batman v Superman, it's like his suit looks different. It's like okay, whatever. But that kind of shit always bugs me. But and this is like I can be okay with it because it's like Shield's, especially since in Winter Soldier, you know, the Shield and the Shield headquarters in Washington D.C. was all destroyed and stuff like that. So they're always going to be making new headquarters and also wanting to have like top secret things. So I thought the raft was interesting and cool, and I thought it was like a really cool way to do like a prison cell situation, which I thought that was really cool. Like it felt very comic book when you see all the characters like Ant-Man and everybody in the cells whenever they got captured at the end there, and I thought that was cool. Especially once again, Ant-Man sticks out to me because I love Paul Rudd as the character, and like I said, I think he felt way more like the character in this than he did in Ant-Man. But that line he says about how Hank Pym never said he could never trust a Stark. It's like, oh God, I love that type of shit that they put in this movie. And then you know Tony Stark's like, who are you again? Oh, I love that. Yeah. There's a couple like really good funny lines that Tony Stark has in this movie, which before this movie I would have like scoffed and like, ugh, fuck you.
Well, like
Tony
in
Stark.
Iron Man 2 and 3 especially, like all of his lines felt forced. Like Tony, like Iron Man is supposed to be the snarky, funny one, so they felt like they had to build the dialogue around him being a snarky, funny guy. Where in this movie he felt a little bit more serious with a more natural snark, I guess is what you would call it. Especially when he's at the raft and he's like, when he gets in the helicopter, he's like, "You can give me a call, but I like to watch the red light blink or whatever."
And then they actually did it too. I almost thought they were just gonna have like funny little quip between the two of them. And then they actually did it at the end, and it did make me laugh. I thought that was great. It worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
One of the best Stan Lee cameos, though, too.
I know.
Comes in and says that. It's like, come on. Even though I still think
Tony Stank.
Even though I still think the Deadpool cameo with him is probably the best one by far.
Yeah.
I
just
getting into
Deadpool, man. Deadpool's so good.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching Deadpool a lot too. Then getting into that third act where everything starts coming together, and then it's like two conflicts are coming together too at the end when you think about it. It's like the Civil War is still really going on. They're trying to get Bucky and Captain America and actually just them because everyone else was captured by that point. And then something I didn't even think about until the movie was over was that one moment that Black Widow talks to Tony and then walks away. She's gone. She never came back, and I never even thought about that until the movie was over. It's like, oh fuck, I guess she's just gone now. I wonder what's gonna happen with her.
Well, she's gonna get her own movie, according to Marvel.
I really hope not. It's like one of those characters. Like I really don't think she has enough to build on her own movie.
Yeah,
no offense to her.
And I know Hollywood's onto this strong female lead sort of movement, or whatever. But Black Widow, it's the same issue that I have with the Punisher, where that character is so kind of one dimensional that how do you build a movie or an entire season of a series around that one character? I don't know. It's like making a movie about Hawkeye.
I wouldn't want to see it. It's I don't think anyone else would want to see it either. Kind of thing.
And I don't know, but the one thing that really got me at the end of that movie though was Zemo has that moment where you actually start to feel sympathy for him.
Yeah, because he was the whole time you're wondering why the fuck is he doing this, and
right? Then, and he's listening to voicemails and stuff.
Yeah, and then I keep on going back to that, and you're like, well, what is this? Why is he doing? What's going on here?
Yeah, and I really felt for that character, just it's you lose the people that you love, and it makes you do all sorts of things that you don't want, you don't think of yourself ever doing. And I actually really felt for him as a character and everything that he lost, and then and that's why he's doing this. So,
which I know that they didn't give him a ton of development, but I feel like they gave him just enough to where it's you could feel for him. Mm-hmm. Unlike with Guardians of the Galaxy, they give Rowan the tiniest bit of development, but it's you can't really understand why he's doing this. It kind of just
feels like a minion.
He just feels like a villain in a villain movie kind of thing or whatever.
Right.
But when I got there to the end, and I think that's the best thing I have to say about this movie, because a lot of Marvel movies end up being predictable, and this movie was unpredictable and surprising. When it came to the end, because you see it you've seen it in the Civil War trailers where it's Captain and and Winter Soldier and Iron Man are all punching each other and stuff, and you see like little glimpses of the fight. But when it got down to the end, and he blasts the fuck off Winter Soldier's arm, I'm like, holy shit, I did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
But then also right after that, when Winter Soldier grabs his shield, Captain America grabs his shield and starts smashing him, and his fucking helmet comes off. I'm like, holy fuck, is he gonna kill him right now?
Yeah.
I could almost see that happening.
Yeah.
And then it didn't, and I was like, whew!
There was, like, they came out and said there was an original version of the script where where Captain America just, like, they bashed Tony Stark's face and like, they cut to black after he hits him in the face with his shield, and, like, because, like, in Civil War comic books, this arc immediately after Civil War, Captain America dies. Like, Steve Rogers dies.
He gets, like, assassinated.
And, like, this whole, like, Civil War, this movie is kind of like, almost like a flip-flop of the comics. And, like, a lot of people thought Tony Stark was going to die. But, and that was, like, an original part of the script was where, like, Steve kills Tony.
That would have been really interesting, but doing it the way they did it, though, was still really cool. Like, I wasn't like, fuck that shit. They didn't kill him. I hate this movie now. But it was like, I still really liked the way that they did that. I have no complaints about that whatsoever.
Yeah, and he, like, even the statement Tony says afterwards is like, that shield doesn't belong to you, and Captain America just drops the shield. Which makes me wonder, is he going to get the black suit in whatever movie's next?
Black suit?
Yeah, like the agent suit, because he's like the Secret Avengers. He wears the black suit and gets a new shield that's like black and blue.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I know. Awesome. I know in Winter Soldier, like that blue one they gave him was kind of like a play on what it was in the comics, where it was a really dark blue.
And it was like the stealth one.
But yeah, that talking about the third act now, because now we've reached the end of the movie pretty much. But you know, they really did. Once again, like with Winter Soldier, it's like they left a few like little things open, but for the most part, like the movie kind of feels like it could stand on its own, except for like the last shot, of course, because it seriously is a cliffhanger. But then at the end of this, I feel like you could kind of leave it by itself, it could be a standalone movie at this point, but. The way that they did it at the end is like that's the best kind of comic book movies I like, where it's like it could end and be on its own, but they left enough like subtle pieces open to where it's like it could definitely be reopened. And I love the way that it ended, where Captain America breaks everybody out,
and that makes me think like they already came out and said Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, they're not going to be called that. They're just going to be 2 Avengers movies. And that makes me wonder if one of them is going to be a secret Avengers movie with Cap and Falcon and Ant-Man and Hawkeye.
I don't know. I haven't heard that stuff yet.
Oh, man. These are just like theories I've been reading online and stuff, but it's not like...
Well, I've also heard a theory about how that maybe there could be a movie where when Captain America, or if Captain America gets assassinated or killed at some point, that there would be a whole Captain America movie about Falcon and Bucky fighting over the mantle of Captain America, because Bucky thinks he deserves it, but then Falcon thinks that he deserves it too, kind of thing. Yeah. It could be like this interesting back and forth movie, but I don't know. At the same time, it's like I don't really want to see that.
Yeah,
I'd rather just have Steve Rogers come back, because at this point, I love Chris Evans as a character so much.
And I like when he was cast, I didn't think I was, because before that, all you could think about him and was that horrible Fantastic Four stuff.
But I had seen him in other comic movies by that point, so I was still kind of into the idea, but I didn't know what to think about it just yet.
Remember the rumor Will Smith was going to be Captain America?
I remember that a long time ago. I was like, well, I guess times are changing, but good thing that didn't happen, because Will Smith probably would have been a dickhead as him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that's all we can really say about Captain America Winter Soldier right now. Wow. Captain America Civil War right now. That's what the movie's called. We don't really rate movies here, but I just say that I was very, very, very happy with it. It was
definitely one of my favorite of the Marvel movies. It was like...
It's by far like my favorite one.
I still think Winter Soldier edges it out a little bit.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing too.
But like, in terms of just like how the Russos managed the characters, and like at first I was so worried about this movie, and then like Infinity War, like how are you going to manage all of these characters? And the way they did it in this movie was so well done, except for the fact that like Spider-Man felt a little forced, but like that was probably Marvel telling them, hey, we have Spider-Man, you need to get him into this movie somehow.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and like just that one scene with Tony Stark felt a little forced, but other than that, the way they juggled all these characters, they each had their own moment to shine.
They all had a moment to shine.
And then on top of that, it was still very much a Captain America movie on top of that.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I mean, I went and saw it 2 weeks in a row. Like I loved it. So, and I don't usually go see movies twice in the theater unless I like really love it.
Yeah, I don't either, but I did see it the one time, and I haven't gone to see it again, but that's also because I'm just kind of just waiting for it to come out already.
I know.
So I want to get it.
I know.
But yeah, Captain America Civil War, fantastic. Seriously, one of the, if not, well, yeah, one of the best Marvel movies now. It's like a lot of them are garbage. This one is a shining beacon of how great they can be and should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. For sure.
And we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast now, we're going to talk about another little Disney thing that popped up a few weeks ago, which is a movie that I'm excited for, and you said you're very excited for too, because you've seen the old movie and you've read the book?
Yeah.
I know about the book, but I've never read it, so I don't really know exactly what to expect. And I think I've seen the old movie when I was a kid, but I don't remember a goddamn thing about it. So, with this new trailer, though, telling us a lot more about it, really interested in what's going to happen.
Yeah, so the book of Pete's Dragon was very kind of dark. You know, and this new trailer really looks like it's trying to capture that, but I don't know how much they're going to, because it's Disney, and like they change a lot of things to make it a they did it. You know how Disney does things. They change things to make it more appealing to families and
cutesy.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. The original movie was kind of like a sing along type. I mean, it was that time when they were experimenting with real people mixed with cartoons. You know, around the same time it was Mary Poppins and Fantasia and
Roger Rabbit,
and all that kind of stuff. It was an okay movie. It was a cool experiment for the time. It was definitely something cool to see probably in that time, because of the technology that was being developed and stuff by Disney to do that.
Even though, of course, Roger Rabbit is a way better version of that.
Oh, yeah, but it was also made like 20 years later.
Yeah.
So, but, it didn't really capture what the book was, where it was like really dark and like a child dealing with some, internal demons and like struggling, to find a place, and like he escapes into the woods, and the dragon is real, but it also represents a lot of other things, which it looks like this new Disney movie is capturing that, where like the kid's lost in the woods. He's been lost for 6 years, and the forest ranger, who's that? Bryce Dallas Howard is playing the forest ranger, finds him, and like it starts this a hunt, I guess. Carl Urban looks like, if you want to say the villain of this movie.
It's like some angry construction worker or some shit.
Yeah, and like they go on a hunt to hunt down this dragon that's not very dangerous. It almost reminds me of like Beauty and the Beast and Gaston and the Beast, or like,
yeah, it really does.
So like, the kid is really attached to this dragon, and nobody believes him that it's real. And the kid names it Elliot, and he lives with this dragon, and this dragon is his best friend and has helped him survive in the woods since he's been lost. And so it looks like a quest to save this dragon before the evil construction workers take down, like shoot it down or whatever. And like the concept in the movie looks cool. It looks very much like a Disney movie. The dragon, Elliot looks weird to me. Like, dragons have scales, not fur. Like, that's the one thing that's throwing me off here. Like, why does Elliot have fur? And like other than that, like he looks okay, like he looks cool, but it's that weird, janky Disney animation that I always have an issue with.
I think he looks like really realistic this time.
It looks better than like the BFG, which is Disney's other movie they're pushing real hard. Like that animation looks like crap, but it's also not on the scale of like something like Harry Potter's dragons or Game of Thrones dragons, where they look very real. So, I don't know. I like Pete's Dragon a lot, and this new movie I'm sure is going to be fine. But it's just a thing. I don't know. It's very divisive for me, I guess, because like I really do like the concept of Pete's Dragon. I like that if it was done right, but it feels like Disney's version of Narnia, where they're just going to just totally destroy a good property that they haven't used in forever. So
see, all this is like news to me because I really don't know much about the storyline at all. Because like I said, I never read the book, and I saw the old movie once, and I can't remember a thing about it. But I don't know. I almost feel like Disney might take the risk and have a couple because sometimes they do. Like I recently saw Inside Out for the first time. Because I was like on a mental rebellion against it because it like won the Oscar over Anomalisa, which really pissed me off.
And never mind, keep going.
Yeah, and like it does the same. I feel like it'll do the same thing as like Inside Out or any other Disney movie would do, where it's like it's a kids movie, but then they also weave in like these really important, like
life lessons,
symbolic and important life lessons, or like influential things that they'd want to put in their movie to kind of like make you think about where you are in the world or how your life is going or anything like that. And I feel like they might do that, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to say at this point because it almost really does, like from the trailer, it seriously does just look like all they're doing is like a dragon story where these kids in the fucking woods and kind of shit like that.
Yeah, and like I want Disney to take another risk like they did with the first Pirates movie, or like. John Carter is another fantastic Disney movie that didn't get enough attention. Yeah, some of the acting in that movie was pretty bad, but like I think overall that movie was pretty good, and they take something like Pete's Dragon and like Maleficent and like now they're doing like a Cruella movie and all these weird movies that like I don't understand, man. Like, they're ruining. I don't want to say Disney's ruining stuff, but they are. Like, we look at Alice Through the Looking Glass. That movie tanked, and like that first one wasn't very good. And then they went on and made another sequel to it because it made over $1 billion in China or whatever. So like, I don't know, man. I have a problem with like Disney's live action stuff. Like they try to make things for like our age group, but then they tone it down so much to where it feels like they're trying to make it for like a 13 to 14 to 15-year-old audience that thinks that like they're too good for Disney and won't go see it anyway. Like that's what all these Disney movies feel like, is like they're trying to make it for that early teenage audience, and like they just won't go see it because they're too cool because it says the name Disney in it. I don't know. And that's what Pete's Dragon feels like, is like it feels like a movie that is aimed towards parents with the kids that are like 9 and 10 type deal. But I don't know, man. They could have done something totally different with Pete's Dragon and it would have been like phenomenal. Because that book is like one of my favorites of all time. And I don't read a lot. I'm going to be quite honest. I don't read a whole lot of books. But like that's one that I do like. And that I just think Disney could have something really good with this movie.
What would be really cool is it would be cool if they, which they most likely won't. Who knows? We can only tell so much from the trailer. But What would be really cool is I feel like if they went like a Where the Wild Things Are route, I would definitely be into that movie. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
Like, it's really bizarre and interesting for a movie being adapted from a kid's book and being done that way, where it's like really emotional, kind of hardcore sometimes. It's like Pete's Dragon would definitely be like the perfect kind of movie to do that same treatment with, but with it being Disney, it's like you gotta have a cutesy furry dragon instead of a real one, and you gotta have Disney moments where there's like a clear villain who's gonna die or some shit.
The way the way Elliot looks in this movie is just like it's killing me, dude.
I'm fine with it. I actually really like the way it looks. It's just like like
the fur, dude.
Putting fur on it's like, hey, well, if you put fur on anything, it looks
like that's the part that's killing me is the fur. And like, yeah, in the original movie and in the book, Elliot has this giant like jaw, almost like an underbite, which he has in the movie. He's depicted well enough in this movie. It's just like the fur is killing me, dude. The fur is killing me. So I mean, I'll probably go see it just because I like Pete's Dragon a lot. But
I'm definitely gonna go see it. It's something I'm really looking forward to. Actually, I just think it looks like it's gonna be like an actual good movie. It's got a good cast too. I mean, Wes Bentley, Bryce Dallas Howard, Robert Redford again, Carl Urban and stuff. Like, it looks like it's gonna have like a really good set of actors in there, and I'm really wondering what's gonna happen when they're all together, kind of thing. So
yeah, I mean, it looks way better than like the other movies Disney's pushing right now. BFG is one of them. I don't know. I was kind of hoping that like since Disney acquired Marvel and Star Wars, which are like huge franchises, they would take a little bit more risk. And like they are to an extent with Pete's Dragon and BFG, but then again they're like it's too safe of a risk, if that makes any sense.
I can get it.
So
kind of like how Force Awakens ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we went the safe route. But I'm funny you saying that, because it's like hearing all this shit about, even though this isn't a Rebel Base episode, I'm going to talk about this for a second, is you saying, like, Disney always trying to play it safe really bugs me hearing this shit about Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like they have to reshoot it because the Disney execs think it's like too dark and doesn't feel Star Wars enough and stuff like that. It's like Rogue One feels like they were finally taking a risk for the first time in the Star Wars universe, and it felt like it was going to be like a real war movie, and then they finally go for it, and then Disney has to fucking have 40% reshoots bullshit.
Yeah, which we should talk about that on Rebel Base, but like, I'm really disappointed in Rogue One too. Like, I feel like I bet that movie was going to be something spectacular for Star Wars, and like all these reshoots and including the young Han Solo character in there, and like, I mean, that's the rumor and we don't know for sure, but like that's the stuff that's going to kill this movie, I think.
See, I don't know. I still feel like it's going to be really, really great. It's just going to, it's just a bummer that they're doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all we can really say about Pete's Dragon.
You're right.
Yeah, my voice cracked a little bit. Because I just can't really think of much else to say about it, because there's really just not much else I can think about, even because like you've read the book, you've seen the old movie, I've seen the old movie, but there's really not much else we can really do about it. I can't remember when it said it's coming out though. When is it, like
next couple weeks
or July?
I think it's the end of July.
July maybe. So yeah, there's that. We'll talk about it then. Like I said, it's after seeing the first trailer, I was like, I'm really excited to see it. So it's definitely one of my most anticipated. But yeah, that's all I can really say about that. That's gonna wrap it up for this episode of the DNA Real Talk podcast, where we talk about all movies all the time. You can find all of our content on this YouTube page if you're there, or you can go to the DNA site.
DigitalNerdAdvocates.com.
Yep. That's how you spell it in the search bar there.
Yeah. Then just go right up there. Type it in.
And then we got written reviews on there, and I know I've said this before in the old episode, well, not old episodes, but past episodes where I say the Redbubble stuff, but I actually haven't been on there in a really long time. We've kind of dropped the ball on that one, but we'll be back up there soon. I mean,
well, we kind of went through like this we had this huge mountain that we climbed, and then we were in a valley, and now we're climbing back out of this, with like schedules, and then Joey's surgery, and just a bunch of stuff. We couldn't get to a lot of stuff, which I explained on a DNA podcast early, like a couple weeks ago. Like we are kind of rebuilding ourselves. It's not like a total DNA network reboot type thing, but we're trying new things, and we didn't want our content to get stale. And that email I sent you was quality over quantity, which I think more people will appreciate. Plus, we're starting to write stuff again. I'm doing the game stuff. Cameron might help with the movie stuff, and there's community people that we want to get involved with this show and our other shows too, which we've had a pretty successful new show that's just based around community members. Nerds Gone Rogue. So
yeah,
that was a surprise for me, at least, like how fast that show took off. We just recorded our second episode the other day, but me and Cameron are rebuilding this and making it something.
And Sana couldn't be with us today, but she'll be with us next time for sure.
Yeah,
she's like the one member of the DNA Real Talk who will definitely be on. Other than anyone else, I doubt Brian or Joy would want to join us on one of these. But yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. Plus, like, I know Matt wanted to chime in for sure about movies and music and stuff. He's a valued community member. He actually did the first two NGR radios with me, so he's cool. He's a cool dude. You'd like him. He watches all the movies that you do, weird ones, them indie ones.
The weird ones? All right.
Them weird indie ones.
That's good, indie ones.
So, a little housekeeping there. So, digitalnerdadvocates.com's redesigned for a better viewing experience. Maybe. I think it is.
It will be. We're working on it.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, DNA Real Talk coming back full force. Excited.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this time. And
till next week.
Till next week, yeah.
Yeah.
That is a wrap.
That's a wrap. Yes, I forgot that was our catchphrase. It's a wrap. So good.